I gotta say a quick story about
Do
West
it.
Haven Power's first PwrCell install. So I was
Oh
out. It
God, I
was
hope it's
out in
good.
the. No, it's great.
Okay.
It was out in the North Bay. Myself and Noah, our sales apps engineer, was out there. It was your guys' first whole home. It was actually our first whole home system in California. That was being installed. So you guys were the first one to do that. And so I remember pulling up, and I'm not even kidding. You guys had a tripod, a camera. You guys had a little mic. It was totally set up. So we were initially going out there to help you guys, right? Make sure the install went smoothly. And they recorded everything. They asked a ton of questions. They made sure the camera, when myself or Noah were pointing out different things, that were recording it, and they were recording it for the rest of the team.
Yeah.
West Haven Power is so busy; they do a lot of installs, and so instead of having everybody, and how you jump on the job site and delay projects, they just filmed it, and they filmed it really well, and they got all the questions. And so I'm not surprised to see Jason and crew out there doing clean installs. You guys took the effort. You guys went out there and did the training. You guys made a whole training platform. Super exciting, man. Sometimes I
Thanks.
show up to job sites. You got, Chuck in a truck who's like, I don't know,
Scary,
well,
man.
did you read
That's
the manual? What's the manual,
Oh
And you guys
God.
were super prepared. So
Cool.
kudos to that. But I just had to throw that story out. The
Thanks,
only time
man.
I've ever walked on a production set, aka an install, it was a trip, man.
That's cool. Well, that's a lean move there. We want to capture everything from, and like you said, it's like, well, we've got a lot of electricians. So, having 40, 50 guys show up on one job site is kind of an interruption to the job site, a little intimidating for a homeowner, show up with an army literally on their site. But then the message doesn't get delivered as well either. So we kind of learned that move the hard way. But that's why we film, and then we, bake it all down. We have our own training program and make sure we know what we're doing. Otherwise, it's a big pain in the butt for not only ourselves, but then ultimately the tech departments, that sit on the other end at Generac and make this whole thing work. And so that's kind of like one of the things I'd love to talk about for a second, Craig, because there's a whole behind the scenes that no one really talks about or gets to see. There's two behind the scenes, right? There's the behind the scenes of the integrator, who's probably going to take the first phone call if something should go wrong. And this is mechanical stuff. Like, things happen, things fail, and things can fail too that have nothing to do with the manufacturer, with the installer. Like, a breaker could trip because the utility did something wrong, or anything can happen. You need people there ready to go. You need an installer that's, got what it takes to show up. So ideally, it's not a Chuck in the truck who'll never pick up the phone again, when they get a phone call from a client. But then on the other end, and we ask these questions too, and that's why we like partnering with Generac, because they've been in business for over 60 years, and they have a massive, service, tech, process, and deployment whole center. I mean, you guys are stacked. Anytime we got a call, it's answered. The representation is there. The system is there. And like, that had to be, one of the most awesome things to see. Like, when we watched Pica get, this platform, this PwrCell technology get transferred into Generac's hands, that was one of the things that we nerded out on. Because we're like, thank God, because these things there's service issues that occur on any type of equipment, whether it's a car, air conditioner, you name it. A lot of these newer companies, like, they don't have that part figured out yet. And so you can be on the phone for hours and hours and hours, trying to get tech support, trying to figure something out. Whereas Generac's already got this whole thing on lock from, 60 years of generator service. And generators have way more moving parts than a PwrCell product. So can we talk a little bit about the behind the scenes? Because that's a huge, huge thing that's often not really talked about, when it comes to selecting these products.
Support's massive. We're not talking about an appliance in the home that if it doesn't work, it's not it's not a big deal. If my blender goes out, it's not the end of the world. But when you have a battery or you have a generator and that doesn't work, well, it's not just residential systems we're backing up here, right? We're backing up hospitals. We do a lot in commercial, a lot with utility on the generator side of the business. And so for the past 60 years, really our whole name brand recognition of reliability has been forged in Wisconsin in our support center. We have a ton of people. We even have a storm team that if we see, a hurricane, if we see a wildfire, if there's some sort of forecast in weather, our service team is one of the first teams that are aware of the forecast, and we start ramping up people to mitigate that, because we know, you may have a generator, you may have a battery and solar system that you haven't had to utilize. Maybe you've been fortunate, we've had a good year, or the utility's done a great job and you haven't need to use it. But man, if something goes wrong and the grid goes down and your battery doesn't work, or your installer, it's a Friday and they need to finish up the job site and make sure that they can test properly, support's everything. Support is what Generac is kind of built their name on. So just so everyone's aware, we have really two support centers that we work with. We have one in Wisconsin, is in Waukesha, Wisconsin. That is our HQ. That, again, we have a storm team there, so they're open 365 days, 24 hours, to make sure that they can help customers. And then we have our tier 2 technical support team that really is the old Pika crew. These are the guys that have been developing the battery technology, have been working with it for years, and they're over in Maine. So depending on if you're a homeowner, you're going to get our customer support line that could walk you through how to reset passwords, to how to change battery modes for you, and better help understand your system. And for West Haven Power, you're going to be working directly with HQ and directly with the guys that have been around this equipment for a long time. Yep. So I'm extremely happy. As you know, I came from a couple manufacturers I won't name in the past that call times were long. Services were challenging, and you need a manufacturer that's going to stand by the product, right? Not just put up a cool poster and sell you on it, but a partner that's going to make sure that your homeowners are taken care of.
Yeah,
guys, this equipment's not designed for a year. This is designed to protect you and your family for years and years. And so Generac being around for 60 years, we've built that infrastructure.
Yeah.
Thank God. Saves me from gray hair.
That's real talk right there, and that's some of the stuff I wanted. I wanted to hear all that. That's why I normally don't shut up for that long, but I wanted to hear exactly all that, because you said a lot there, Craig. And see, that's actually why we changed our name from West Haven Solar to West Haven Power, because of what you just said. And this is such an important fact. And I didn't know Generac was doing this, but I've said this over here for the longest time, like for solar, for these little, crystals to, take over for real and replace the utility company, we got to act like a utility company. And the utility company does exactly that. So even PG&E, even though I totally hate them, they totally suck and they make me completely angry because they burned and killed people and all that other stuff. They're watching. They also watch the storms, and, they'll deploy their crews to be, on point as much as they can be to mitigate, these types of failures. So to know, and I just learned that, I didn't know that, but to know that Generac's also doing the same thing behind their systems is very reassuring. And that's actually the kind of support that is required, to make this stuff work, because we are going to totally replace the grid. It's going to switch to crystal power. It's going to be through partnerships like with Generac and West Haven Power to actually watch and monitor these things and be just as reliable and available as the utility. That's what it takes. So to know that Generac's already doing that is pretty huge. And then, Fancy Cheese is asking, do you guys operate nationwide? Well, Generac sure does. I think that Generac is in every single state, making every kind of, power product there is. They're very, very well known. And if you live in a state where, power failures are normal, you already know Generac guaranteed. In newer states like California, not everyone knew Generac till a couple years ago. Now everybody knows them. And even in the tolling industry, Generac. So Generac's absolutely national. And then us, Fantasy, we're in California and Texas at the time being. But we do have, full North American plans in the works that, within the next, 5-10 years, we should be in basically every single state in America and also in Canada as well, as we scale out and have successful partnerships with people like Generac. So Craig, I want to give you a chance. I've got more. I've got my notes here. We haven't made it all the way through. But is there anything you would like to, mention or say that I haven't brought up that's, important about the Generac product that, people should know about?
I think we touched on it briefly, and that's the whole home side of things, right? Being able to back up your home and having smart load management. You talked about that through the SMMs. You talked about how we've had this technology for years on the generator side, and it's really just an integration into clean energy. That's the biggest, at least in our market, right? We have homeowners that want to back up lights, internet, that's great, but we have customers that have a big appetite for power, that want to have the most secure home when the grid goes down. And Generac allows us to do that. With smart management and load management, it allows us to go with an 18 kW age battery and really extend that. So give you more for less. Try to lower the cost structure for your system and be able to still back up more than the system can handle. I think that's a huge piece, Brett, and I think that really differentiates us because there's no other battery solution in the market today that offers smart load management. And
Yep.
it's a big piece of that, right? So if we were to walk through that to make it super brief for everyone, it's really simple. If you have a large load like an AC or a wall pump, a load that's going to take a large draw of energy, we want to make sure we manage that. If you had your AC, your well pump, your electric water heater turn on all at the same time, you may go over that peak of power that we talked about earlier, over that 50 amps, over that amount that the battery can handle. And with Generac, with those larger loads, we could put these little smart management module devices on them and make sure we can prioritize what's important for you and the family. So if you're backing up a pool pump, because that's important for you and the family, great. If you're backing up an AC unit, then you got to let Brett and team know, hey, what's more important? If it's the AC unit, great. Our system will know. And so when the pool pump turns on and the AC unit kicks on, if there's not enough power, we'll actually pause those lower loads
Yeah.
and redirect that power to the ones that are more important to your family. So again, it's just giving more for less. I think that's probably the biggest value that Generac has in the residential market is that control.
Yep. Yep. For sure. And part of our whole questionnaire and figuring out process when we do our site audit is figuring out all those all those loads that need to be ran. And remember, all this is to replace the utility and give you more power to make you a more independently power individual on the planet. There's such a bigger message here. And I always like to put something up, which I'll put up here, which is kind of cool to remind everybody, what we're working with here. And why it was awesome to see, basically Generac get into the solar game because they knew for sure that that guy is a rather large piece of energy that pretty much can handle everything for us. And so everything we're talking about here is this thing shining everywhere, all on you, all on your property, bringing insane amount of energy. We're harvesting it, Generac's processing it, and controlling all your loads so that you can just live off of it and not worry about having an intermediary in between you and your power source. So we're taking out a middleman here to put it in like cooler terms, right? We're pulling a middleman out and putting the power source directly to you. That's what all this stuff does. So there was one other thing that, I think people should know. There's two pieces I want to touch on briefly. Craig, we got about another 15 minutes on the stream, and I think this will wrap it up to leave it, a very, very complete Generac PwrCell overview, discussion, what it does, visiting a live install. I think anyone that would watch this that had any question about, and that's what I wanted to do. Anyone interested in PwrCell in all of North America, if they were to watch this stream, they're good to go. Done. Right? So the generator tie-in. Let's talk about this for just a few minutes. So the PwrCell, and again, this is about removing the utility so you don't have to worry about this thing at all and you're always powerful. So the PwrCell has the ability to monitor its battery condition, and if it doesn't have a solar presence, because it could be nighttime, it's already intelligent enough to automatically turn on a Generac generator, which is already built to talk with the PwrCell product and charge up the batteries. Can you just talk about that for a second? I probably covered most of it, Craig, but what do we need to know about that feature? Because that's also huge.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head, right? I think resiliency is the name of the game, and being able to offer true whole home backup, where if the utility goes out, you could back up everything you want all at one time. And batteries are expensive. So if I were to throw a bunch of batteries on the house, it's sometimes not the best solution. So being able to integrate with a Generac generator, everything speaking the same language, everything being one manufacturer, one warranty, one support is huge. And so what you'd be able to do coming here at the end of summer, you're going to be able to integrate anywhere from essentially a 16 kilowatt hour all the way up to a 24 kilowatt hour generator into the system. So that means, and I think you hit on that, that means that let's say on a maybe it's a really cloudy day and that picture next to us is not in full effect, then you can utilize your generator. It's a backup for your backup system. It could also power larger loads that batteries maybe that might not be ideal for. Maybe that's a 5-ton AC unit, or maybe that's your pool pump or an electric car charger, something that has a bunch of draw. Don't waste your battery. Fire up the generator only for an hour or two, cool down your house and turn it off. And so it's really going to offer full resiliency for the customer. You could even charge the batteries with it. So God forbid if you got no sun, maybe you're in Alaska where there's weak sun in with no sun, you could still utilize the battery by charging that up with the generator. So you're not running that real, noisy generator all night. You're running off batteries, so it's a lot
Yeah,
quieter. So we're
exactly.
super excited, man. It's coming out very, very soon. The hardware's already out. Right now we're just patching up the firmware. So by the end of the summer we'll be able to offer that, and it would be
Awesome.
super exciting.
Awesome. I got a question here. Does solar increase the home's value? It sure does. It absolutely does. Now, most people got to know whenever you add solar onto your home, you got to pull a building permit, and the building permit is tied into your, county recorder. So if you have certain additions on your home, it can trigger a reassessment of your home, which a reassessment is going to reevaluate your home. Generally, it's going to put the value up, and then you're going to pay more in property taxes. However, in solar in America, that doesn't happen. Even though it adds value to your home and your home will get assessed with more value upon it, that added value from having a solar system will not increase your property taxes. So that's a good thing. But to answer that question, absolutely, yeah, for sure. Solar does add value to the home. And when you come up to looking at a couple homes that you're about to buy, if everything was the same on both, okay, well, this one makes all of its own power and you don't have an electricity bill. This one, you got to pay an electricity bill. Which one do you want? The power producing home is generally the more favorable one. Certainly when you're in an area like California where the prices of electricity are just absolutely insane. So, I hope I answered that question. Fancy cheese. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, Craig, before we kind of got to, break off here and we'll tee up for the next stream, which is certainly going to be June 11th. With you, we've got more streams I got to talk about, before then, of course, and I hope you tune in and share our links with everybody. But you mentioned earlier Neurio. So I always, now this is not a Neurio thing, but this is what Neurio makes, and they're a very cool company, is they make CTs. Unfortunately, I wish I had a Neurio CT to show, but here's a CT. And, Generac's very smart. They got Pica and Neurio working together. So tell me a little bit about the Neurio product and what Generac's doing with that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Neurio was a really, really exciting, and still is a really exciting company out of Vancouver, Canada.
Yep.
They not only made those CTs, and that one kind of looked like a block. Ours almost looks like a lobster claw, which makes it a little easier.
Neurio's
and
way better
more
than this
accessible.
stuff. Way better. I just show people
Yep.
that this is the key to the future right here.
Yeah, and more importantly, not only is it that CT, it's also, the energy meter. So what really Neurio's focus is to be able to understand as a homeowner, what are you using? What are you generating from solar? What are you exporting to the grid? And what are you importing from the grid back in your home? That helps us design the system. It helps us configure the battery so we can make sure that it's the best ROI for you and the family. And so Neurio is really a software company that makes these CTs and energy meters. what a fantastic addition to Pica, fantastic addition to Generac, is now that we can offer that level data. So as a homeowner, what's super cool, on your app when you get the battery, you can actually see live data that shows, hey, I have 75% of my battery left based on current PV solar production, and what I'm using in the home, I'll have another 12 hours left of lifetime in the battery. It'll even tell you your charge rate. So you have live data. So if you're looking at, it's 9 o'clock at night and you've been crazy throughout the day using your battery and your energy, and you only have 8 hours left, then you can go turn down the loads, look at your app, and see exactly what that meant for your night and battery storage. So Nurio helped kind of launch us that software that helps give us that full piece for the homeowner so they can see what their system's doing. And it's super neat. And we're working on a bunch of stuff up in the Nurio office for load management and control. So, God forbid if you're like me and you forget to you left your AC on, and you drove away, you could go on your app and turn that off. So
You guys have
crazy.
that now. Or you're coming out with that.
It's coming out, man.
Okay.
It's coming out. We got a lot in the woodworks, launch for later this year. So yeah, Nurio allows us to do that. Allows us to capture that data and give homeowners a little bit more control.
Well, we're going to repower this whole world. I mean, that's the whole message right here. The things that are coming out, and you can trust Generac to bring it out right. That's what I like about the company. They take their time before they launch stuff out, and the stuff works when they do. And the load control, we'll have to have you back and get into all that stuff. But, I mean, the future is bright for us. It's very dim for utility companies. And that's a good thing because they're just done. And we got to we take the power source, bring it straight to you with no intermediary. So, Craig, I mean, this has been an awesome show, man. You've been an awesome guest. I super appreciate having you on. Any last words that you want to share with the audience, or did we totally exhaust everything? Like, what didn't we cover about PwrCell? Like, what is someone going to find out about that we didn't talk about today?
We covered a lot today, Brett, and I appreciate you, having me jump on here. This is super fun, we have these conversations all the time. So to have this with live people and have this to give to homeowners, it's awesome.
Yep.
I would just say, with Generac PwrCell, if you're looking for storage, we've been around for 60 years. We've built this infrastructure. We talked about customer service. With Generac, you get more power, you get the flexibility to always add on to your system, and you get one manufacturer that can really add on the system in the long term. So I don't want to go too much more into technical specs with you guys. I know if I were a homeowner, my brain might be slightly overloaded, but I'm excited. We have that event coming up that you mentioned, Brett. I got a rig. I'm not joking, man. It is a rig and a half. This thing's monstrous, but it's cool. We got an inverter on the side, so when I go there, we can actually simulate an outage. It'll be killer, man.
Yeah,
I can't wait for you guys.
And that's like, like you said, we can tech out and nerd out. I mean, on this stuff too much, and that's why I really try to make a very good conscious decision to fulfill and fill the stream up with a whole lot of stupidity as much as I possibly can, which for me is not very difficult, surprisingly enough. Now, on that note, Craig, I'm super stoked to see this truck. We got a few things, we'll let you go here in a couple minutes. Again, I just want to thank Generac for everything you guys do, for being awesome, and encourage you guys all the way. Just keep going. I already know you will, but you got a fan base, and we're rooting for you guys, wishing more and more success. Love the product. We'll definitely see you on the June 11th show. We got a lot to talk about there. I have some shenanigans planned. I'll run them by you before because I want to make sure they're going to fit the Generac, moniker, because I can push the envelope a little bit. But it has to be done on stream, otherwise we lose people. But, man, like I said, I want to thank you super much for coming on, Craig. And I'll let you go, man, bid you farewell. And we'll see you on the next one, sir.
I appreciate it, guys. Take it easy, and thank you again for having me on. Have a good rest of your day, guys.
All right, man. Craig, we'll see you next time. I'll be right back, everybody. Craig, thank you so much, sir.